And Mazi OKOROAFOR is on the line. We're looking at the Niger Coup weighing the options against the junta there. Mazi, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. Sir, you see, the option for the junta, we have to go back to history. I think we saw what happened in Tunisia. We saw what happened in Libya when the US stepped that Libya marched to Gaddafi. At the end of the day, what happened in Libya? At the end of the day, the Libyans are suffering it because of that invasion. So what we should talk about right now is ECOWAS. They say tomorrow is their meeting point. I will suggest to the ECOWAS, the defense chiefs, one, going to strike immediately does not make sense. If at the initial step before we place that embargo, see the airliners, foreign airlines going on, they cannot pass to the airspace. Who is suffering? The economy of African continent is suffering. Our people who are boarding this aircraft, that's not because they are paying double portion. That's okay. And the Nigerians who are there, the light we cut, it's an agreement between Nigerian government and the Niger people. Now, this has been taught at the trade. Why? The junta has what we call solar system, and that you will enjoy the light. But the masses are suffering the light. And the same masses are that whether the state house there, that they are support of the junta. Now, I will suggest that they should give the junta time. Say, look, you say you don't want the president, fine, and his administration, fine. How many weeks or days will you stay and conduct a fresh election? Okay. Finish.
That should be the crux. That should be the crux of the matter. Thank you very much for calling in, Mazi. Appreciate you, sir. Group Captain, I wanted to ask something else. As you said earlier, maybe you say the press has culpability for this. I don't know. I can't really speak for them. But the reportage has tilted towards the war option, which is the ultimate option. And you've just been explaining how you would have wished that, you know, all the cards had not been put on the table. But, well, since it's all out there now, I think most people in Africa, certainly in Niger, certainly Nigeria, doesn't want war with its fellow brothers in, you know, brother countries. But if it has to go there, I wanted to bring to you a statement I believe Femi Falana, SAN, made that you can't even go to war without the UN Security Council acquiescing. First of all, from your knowledge of international affairs, comment on that.
Thank you very much. Yes, I have been following this. It's good to hear what other people have. I heard when Mr. Femi Falana said that without UN Security Council authorization, that the ECOWAS force, if at all, cannot even deploy. Technically, that may be true. But again, this is where international system is very difficult. If you look at the United Nations Charter, Article 2.4 talks of use of force. Straight off what it says is that no country should use force on another country. But then, like these laws are, it went over then to bring times or situations where that can be done. So in Article 52 also, the UN Charter said they recognize regional arrangements. Like this ECOWAS, Central Africa, Eastern Africa, the UN Charter agrees that such members can come together and they could intervene when there are things in what they call principle of subsidiarity. That is, when there is anything that is wrong, the people that are closest to where that thing happened should be given the first right to intervene, of course subject to following certain rules. Under that Article 52, after recognizing regional arrangements like ECOWAS, the section said they should make every effort to achieve pacific settlements. Pacific settlements of disputes within the region where they are Pacific. Now, in Article 53, after talking about Pacific settlements, the United Nations Charter says no enforcement action. Enforcement action, you know, you can translate it as military deployment. You can translate it as use of armed force. That is the language of the UN Charter. But when we say enforcement, that's what we mean. No enforcement action should be taken by any of these regional arrangements without authorization of the United Nations Security Council. Almost all the countries in the world are members of the United Nations, and in principle, they adhere to the UN Charter. So if we go strictly to that Article 53, what the learned Silk, Lana, somebody I have great respect, he is right. However, there's a controversy there. The controversy has to do with this Article 53 and the provisions of this ECOWAS protocol relating to the mechanism for conflict prevention, management, resolution, peacekeeping, security, which was adopted in 1999 and signed by all 15 in 2001. Like I said earlier, by this document, all the 15 ECOWAS countries agreed that ECOWAS could intervene. Now, very, very important in that this is Article number 10C. There is a Mediation and Security Council in the African, in the ECOWAS. There's a body like that. Article 10C says that this Mediation and Security Council can authorize all kinds of interventions, and they can decide on, particularly on deployment of political or military missions. In other words, this Article 10C of the ECOWAS protocol, you know, is in it has obviated Article 53 of United Nations Charter, which says you must obtain the approval. And we saw it practically in the Gambia issue. In the Gambia issue, normally what we expect is that when a regional body is going to intervene, it will seek the approval of United Nations Security Council. That is what happened initially. I think on the 19th of January that year that the intervention happened, the ECOWAS applied to United Security Council to allow them deploy into Gambia. Okay. United Nations, on the other hand, it has a practice. It always hardly uses all necessary means. That is, it hardly leaves the regional agencies to use any other means, any means that they think this is. So what the Security Council did in the Gambia, they said they approve for all actions except military actions. However, I think ECOWAS went back to this Article 10C of its own protocol. It's still the Senegalese troops still deployed. Nigeria eventually deployed. Ghana eventually deployed, despite that they didn't get the approval. So, in essence, the charter requires that authorization. But the ECOWAS protocol has gone away with that authorization, which is to say that ECOWAS on its own can decide which or without, maybe again, this is another thing that later on the UN has to, but for now, that is the position of the things.
In fact, the other confusion was that whereas ECOWAS said 7 days, I think the African Union had said 14 days. And there was this confusion as to, wait a minute, why don't we have our house together? Why does there seem to... But Mr. George in Ikeja has been waiting for the past 2 hours to join the program. Good morning to you, Mr. George. We're sorry for keeping you waiting.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to the group captain. Uncle Yori, there's something I picked from the statements made by the group captain. In every international interest, the interest of the local country is what is of paramount importance to that country. So I had said before that this question of intervention in Niger should have been an African Union project. I'm saying this because it is easy to start a war, but it's not easy to end it. When Russia invaded Ukraine, they thought it was going to be a 3-day affair. They have been there now for 1.5 years, and nobody knows when it is going to end. Nigeria is in a restarting stage. What I mean by that is we are reinventing, we are restarting everything in our economy, everything in our political system, everything in our social system. This is not, to me, the time to take such a step that we don't know where it is likely to end. We can contribute troops to an AU project if that becomes necessary. Ordinarily, what I expected AU to do, it shouldn't be ECOWAS, it should be AU, and it should squeeze those 3 or 4 countries that are under military rule in Africa, give them similar sanctions in such a way that even the United Nations will exclude them from their role. That is likely to work more and better than ECOWAS intervention alone that we do not know where it could end.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Mr. George, for calling in, and again, once more, sorry for keeping you waiting all that long. Group Captain, the other question is that with the disposition of the Nigerian, people in charge of their country now, soldiers in charge of their country now, I don't know what you think about the issue, really. What I mean by that is that they've not, they've imposed a no-fly zone. All of these things, we tried to, President Tinubu send an emissary there. They wouldn't receive them. Might they, in the light of those kind of actions, what if they then went and did the ultimate and pulled themselves out of ECOWAS? I mean, I'm just asking. What if they pull themselves out of ECOWAS, pull themselves out of the AU, if they say that, well, it looks like you're stacking the decks against us, you're not listening to us, we are the Nigerians, we know where the shoe pinches, but, just that kind of a scenario, it might be theoretical for now, but what do you think of it?
Thank you very much. That's also a very important question because just like a country is a sovereign right for any country to join any treaty or any protocol, it also has the right to say, first of all, I will not even enter right from the beginning. And even after entering, there are cases where a country will make up its mind based on things that happen later that it no longer wants to be part. But please permit me, the last speaker raised very, very important issues. He said this issue should have been an African Union something. I still come back to say that, in international relations or in this kind of interventions, is that the general international community, they accept this principle of subsidiarity.
All right.
Subsidiarity. The country is nearest to where something, will do. So, as you can see now, UN has commented, but they are waiting to see what ECOWAS is doing. But unfortunately, in the African continent, whenever there are such interventions, we do respect, we have the African Peace and Security Architecture, but it's still not working. Sometimes, just like we see here, you see the sub-regional body and the continental body, that's African Union, they are not even talking together. In 2012, I was part of the deployment to Mali, during the Mali, even what is the name of the operation, there was a huge argument between African Union and ECOWAS. Who is going to handle the money? Who's going to send force? There was so much problem. It's what we are seeing here. You would expect that AU will wait to hear where ECOWAS is going, and then they will align with them. That is the principle of subsidiarity. We didn't see it. With regards to, again, I would like to point out that with regards to intervention or not intervention, people should, since this thing started, our diplomats, our policymakers should carefully study what has the United Nations said. Ideally, a United Nations Security Council, like I said in that Article 53, they will say the situation in Niger poses a danger to international security. As such, we authorize such. They could say all kinds, they could say not. So far, after checking, all the UN has said, the Secretary General has pronounced himself, but his words was that UN supports ECOWAS mediation efforts. ECOWAS mediation efforts. I think, like the Igbo people will say, you can use your tongue to count your teeth.
Yes, mediation efforts.
To the question you asked, supposing Niger...
I just wanted to, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Kennedy in Port Harcourt has been waiting to join the conversation. Let me add it, and then you continue, sir. Good morning to you, Kennedy.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you, my brother, Mr. Yori, and to the always so ever well spoken retired captain. There's something I really want to say. You see, America's approach to issues, especially when it borders on the African continent. Can I go on? The captain seems to be speaking. Can I?
Yeah, please continue.
Okay. America's approach to issues, as far as it borders on the African continent, as far as I'm concerned, is not too very okay. America, by my observation,
the line scrambled. I'm sorry to be using sort of is it a militaristic kind of terminology, but you know what I mean by the line scrambled. Suddenly we couldn't hear him again. But you were making the point that I had to come into that. You had, the diplomats and the experts that were specialists that will be dealing with this issue have to pay particular attention to the, the construction of the utterance of the United Nations. You feel that will profit us well?
That is very important, because to the best of my knowledge, the United Nations has not, and it is not even in this Niger. When you look at the history of the United Nations, honest, they hardly ever support, military intervention in another country. Hardly ever. They could agree on all other factors, but they will hold that use of force. They hold it. They don't release it. They didn't give it in Gambia, like I said, even though still ECOWAS went ahead. But again, like I said, ECOWAS has its own protocol, which says they don't need U.S. security. But you see, you want legitimacy. You want legitimacy. When America intervened in certain countries, in Panama, in Grenada, and one other country, there are 3 countries that United States entered and restored an elected president after a coup. But in all these 3, the United Nations or international community condemned America. As powerful as they are, there was international condemnation that they have intervened, that what they have done without the sanction of the United Nations is an affront on international law. I go back to the very important question, what if Niger decides to go out of ECOWAS? I heard on BBC Hausa today, though it is not official, the BBC correspondent in Niamey is saying there are discussions that not only Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso will pull out of ECOWAS and form a new district. It is not an official district from the government, but that discussion. So, like I said, in any, whether you call it protocol or treaty or any agreement between countries, a country has the right to enter into a treaty. It has the right not to enter into a treaty. It has the right to also say, I want to go out of this treaty. However, with regards to this protocol under which ECOWAS is acting, there is a hook there. The protocol says, I think it's section 51, I'm not sure of the section, but what it says is that while it recognizes that any of those 15 countries can decide not to be part of that protocol, but the country has to give a notice of 1 year.
All right, then. Let me return to Mr. Kennedy that we lost earlier. Kennedy, thank you for trying to get back in. Go ahead now, please.
Oh yeah, I am glad to be able to reconnect. But the captain seems to still be talking, sir.
No, the group captain has finished speaking. I don't know. Right now, he's not speaking.
Okay. Like I was saying, America's approach that as far as issues that border the African continent is concerned should be viewed with a lot of suspicion, because every time they provide a solution all in the name of making peace, it ends up quite chaotic and making life quite very difficult for such countries. Look at Iraq, for example. Look at Libya, for example. Libya is in chaos to the cost of America's intervention. And that, in my own way, should not be what any country wants to emulate or copy from. So I'll advise the AU and ECOWAS as it borders on this Niger issue to trade with caution, because the spillover is going to affect just about every country in Africa. We have enough already in our hands that we are dealing with. That is the more reason why we need to be careful approaching this. I would have thought that the likes of my president, with all due respect to him, who happens to be chairing ECOWAS at the moment, they should explore every avenue that has nothing to do with violent confrontation, maybe like military intervention.
All right, then. I want to thank you very much, Kennedy. Appreciate you, and especially for getting right back in. Thank you very much. Now, the clock is ticking down, Group Captain. So let me try and sort of end on this note. Looking at Wagner itself, on its channel, on its Telegram channel, you might have seen it too. Its Gray Zone channel on Telegram. It has said that it has sent on Monday 1,500 of its fighters to Africa. It didn't specify which country in Africa they were sent to, but its leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin, forgive me if I didn't get that Russian name quite well, has urged the junta to, quote, give us a call, unquote. And this was in a voice message that he uploaded to Telegram. And now there's another quote. We are always, this is a quote directly from the leader of Wagner, we are always on the side of the good, on the side of justice, and on the side of those who fight for their sovereignty and for the rights of their people. Just consider that statement. We've been warned that, look, these people, where they come, they usually are problems. What would you now say in closing with this open wooing by Wagner of the Nigerians?
Okay, thank you very much. First, we should not be under any illusion. Wagner, as a private security company, is a business. It's a business. They can advertise their wares, they can sell their service, whoever wants them. They're a business.
Okay.
Again, I want people to understand the relationship between Wagner as a business enterprise and the Russian government. Certainly, there are links between them. You know, because Wagner's action all will be in support, directly or indirectly, to protect Russian interests. Even though, officially, the Russian government would always like to show that Wagner is on its own, it is not acting on the Russian government. I have told you of national interest. It is in Russia's national interest for Wagner to be there to supplant, or even if the Niger will send out all the other Western countries from their territory. So it is a matter of business. It is also a matter of this. And when I say business, I'm being practical. I cannot say business is bad or business is good. But I just want us to know, you know. And with terms of interest, there is this saying that you should not hate a man for liking himself more than he likes you. It is a natural thing. So whether you talk of Russia,
in the light of that, sorry, Group Captain, in the light of that,
the first thing is what is good.
This is a sales pitch. You are saying it's a sales pitch, and that's what businesses can do sometimes. One has to see it in the light of a sales pitch. I'm sorry we've run out of time, but you've put that caution out there that recognize what Wagner is. It's not a government. It's a business. And maybe one can take what they have said, especially that bit about we are always on the side of the good, on the side of the just, on the side of justice, and on the side of those who fight for the sovereignty and for the rights of their own people. Talk about that, as if that is not what ECOWAS is also all about. But now they are saying it. The Nigerians, they're out of sorts. They just might take them on. But I'm sorry, in about 30, 40 seconds to sort of round off, where are we now exactly? We're going to have to wait for tomorrow, right? When they come together, that is the ECOWAS presidents, and take a position, right?
When coup happened, I think, is it in 2003? General Obasanjo in Sao Tome and Principe. The soldiers seized power, and then I think after 7 days, a discussion was done with them. And then they decided they were given amnesty, and then the government was returned. I think this is where I don't want to preempt the meeting of tomorrow with ECOWAS. The honorable heads of states will decide what they want to decide, but I think we still have to come back because the feasibility or the intricacies that are involved with a military deployment, I think they are very, very daunting. So what I think is...
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Group Captain, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you very much. Group Captain SADEEQ Garba Shehu, retired private security and defense consultant and trainer. Thank you very much, Group Captain, for your time this morning.